Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, like the thumbnail says, I'm an idiot. I screwed up pretty badly, and it has to do with the frame. So it's just best if I show you. So let's jump in here. We'll take a look at what's going on and how I got to this point. All right, guys, I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. Hang in there with me. I'll try to explain what happened. So I had the brand new repop radiator support on. You guys saw me install that when we rolled the chassis in last week. Had the body sitting on three body mounts on each side, just snugged down, not super tight. And I got the body straightened up on the chassis exactly where it goes. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the door on, get the back gap kind of like the way I want it. We'll get a fender on here, and I'll kind of figure this out, and we'll shoot video on the other side, and you know, it'll be easy peasy. Well, I go to hang the fender, I get it kind of like the way I want, and I have the brand new repop on there, the radiator support, and these bolt holes are 1.5 inches too far this way. And I thought, well, there's not enough give in those holes down there. So I thought, well, crap, it's probably built wrong. That was designed 2.5 degrees too far this way. So I thought, okay, well, I got to fix that. So I started going down the rabbit hole. I'm going to cut spot welds. I'm going to redo this. Well, I would have had to basically cut that whole thing apart to get it correct. So what I did was I came up with these shims. You see them right here. And that was to shim that 2.5 degrees out of it, and they worked. So I had that one on here, and I'm like, okay, good. Now these bolt holes are right at the right dimension. We're good to go. Put the fender back on, and now the distance between here where the fender sits on here and the bottom of the fender where it bolts on was about 1.25 inches high. And I'm thinking, crap. The new repop was built wrong in that dimension, so it's too low. So I take it off, I put the old one back on, put the fender back on. Guess what? Exact same gap. And I'm like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. Now you can shim these up and down, but we're talking 1/8 of an inch on either side or whatever to make up for maybe a frame horn that's a little tweaked, right? No, that wasn't the problem. Both sides were the same. I knew I was in trouble right then and there. I had a sinking feeling. So I thought, well, maybe it's because I don't have all the body bushings in. So I raised the car up, put all the body bushings in, tighten them down, except for the front. I'm moving my way towards the front, and I look down here, and I see this right here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a gap. So I had the middle one in, and the middle one is basically holding these up off of there. Now, you guys know before I did any welding on that chassis, I took all kinds of measurements about square and where holes were and everything else because I was concerned about twisting it and, you know, distorting it. Well, there's one dimension I did not check, and that's one I should have checked because I knew. Now, back when I took the body off and I was working on it, Dave was over, we were drinking beers in the shop, just looking out, and I was looking out at the chassis sitting out there on its wheels, and I kept looking at that thing thinking, man, it looks like it has a bow in the middle, where the middle, right where the seats are, is higher. And I asked Dave, I said, does that look like that to you? I forget what he said, but every time I looked out there, it didn't look right. And I should have trusted my instincts. All the dimensional drawings, which I should have used before I touched it with a welder, say that those mounts should be X, Y, X, or whatever dimensions. Well, they're not. I've got a string down there. I took some measurements, and it doesn't meet spec. And what's happened here is, since that's bowed like that, it's pushed these horns down, which in turn took the radiator support down, and that's the case. Now, I think what happened was, it was built incorrectly at the factory or whatever, and when you bolt the body on, and I put those bolts in there, it's going to grab this and it's going to pull that up because the body is strong and it's pushing right dead center right there, and it's going to tweak that thing and bring this up right to where it's supposed to be. My issue is I don't like that. I don't like the body having to do that to the frame. The frame and the body should sit together. Everything should be in alignment, and I don't want to force it. But I mean, that's how it was for 50 plus years. I mean, I honestly, I don't know what to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some bolts in there, and I'm going to slowly tighten them up. I'm going to take some measurements over here and see if these horns start raising up and this thing ends up where it belongs. That's step one. once we see that and see how badly it's crushing that middle body mount, then I'll decide what to do next. So give me a minute, I'm gonna get some bolts in there, we'll start tightening. All right guys, I got everything bolted together, tightened up. I actually had to use some shenanigans to pull that body down a little bit because the bolts weren't long enough to reach. Pulled it down, got the correct bolts in there, got it tight. I didn't wail on it, but they're pretty tight. And before I started, this door was adjusted pretty well, and now it seems a little low after I did the tightening. The door had come down, but it did do what I wanted it to do somewhat. Not as drastic as I thought it would. So I put a tape measure on each side before I started tightening anything up, and this was level with the top right here. So you can tell it did come up about 3/16 of an inch, and the body did pull down. Is that going to be enough? I don't know, but the only way to know is to grab a fender, hang it up there, and see how it lines up. Okay, well the gap there isn't great, but it's even, and unfortunately it only helped a little bit. So we still got a block in right there. It's the frame's got to come out. It's got to be straightened. So I'm going to go ahead and get the frame out, and I'll see you guys up at the garage. We're going to have to roll it all the way back up there. All right guys, we're back at the scene of the crime. I got the rear end out. It's back up on the redneck jig. It's all level. You know, this way. I do have my adjustable jack stands in the back on that cross piece I have in there, and that's to raise it up till the laser will hit all these blocks. So I have 1/2-inch blocks at every body mount right here. So I can kind of check and see, you know, where the laser hits. So I got the DeWalt laser over here. I got it on the engine stand with the 400 on it. That should be secured where it won't move. And I do have the GTO restoration guide, you know, right here. And it does have the frame measurements in it, but this thing is pretty thin. It only shows a few here, and I need a lot more than that. So what I did was I went in real quick, went on eBay, and I ordered the factory spec drawings and wheel alignment specs, and everything cost me like 10 bucks. The guy's mailing it, snail mail, so it's going to take a while to get here. I sent him a message asking him to please email those to me as well, but we'll see if that happens or not. But for now, I've got the laser set up, so let me turn the lights off, turn the laser on, and I'll kind of show you where we're at. I don't think I'm as big an idiot as I thought. I'm an idiot for not checking all this beforehand, straight up. I should have, before I even thought about boxing it in, I should have got all the measurements and made sure that frame was really rock solid, right on the money, but I didn't. So let me turn the lights off and show you what we got. Okay. So, like I said, I have the block set, so you can see the laser's just touching the top of that block right there. Then we go over to this one, the middle one, where I thought it was bowed up real bad, and it's maybe an 1/8, maybe not even an 1/8. And then we come over here, to get out of the way, and it's just touching the top of that one right there. So these aren't that far off. Let's go look at the passenger side. Okay, so the passenger side, we're just exactly like the driver's side right there. And we're basically exactly the same right there. And this one is a little bit different. I have to put my finger over there. I think this one's a little bit lower. If I raise it up about 1/8 of an inch. So that corner is a little bit lower. And I do have this thing leveled this way perfectly, I'm assuming. That's what my digital level tells me. So it's not as bad as I thought. I thought it was massively bowed up. Unfortunately, this drawing that I have here in this guide doesn't give me the datum, you know, the baseline you set underneath to measure up to check all this stuff. So we're going to have to wait till that comes in or the guy emails me. But the good news is I don't think I caused this. I did something because the car fit together before, but I always wrestled with those doors and fenders. It was always a fight, way more than it should have been. And I think maybe I was dealing with what I'm dealing with now, but I just didn't know it. So yeah, I'll bring you back when those specs show up and we can start measuring this thing for real. All right guys, it's the next day, and luckily the guy from eBay was nice enough to email me the spec sheet as well as mail it. So as you can see it here, it's fairly comprehensive, and the best part about it is that it shows you how to set up the datum line. So for this spec sheet, you need to go from the window right here where you set the socket through to tighten up the bolt for the lower control arm. You measure 5 inches down from right here, and that's your rear datum line. And then the front, you go off this hole right here, and then you go not to this roll right here, but you go to the flat spot right here and measure 5 inches down, excuse me, and that's where you set your datum line. So I raised and lowered the back end here until the laser was 5 inches down there, 5 inches down there, and then I started taking some measurements. So let's go ahead and start in the back, which was no problem, but I checked everything I could. So everything in black is what it's supposed to read, and everything in green is what it actually is. So it's supposed to measure 15 1/8 plus or minus 1/4 inch, and this one measures 14 7/8. So we are just in spec there. On the passenger side over there, it measures 15, so we're even closer to being right on the money. We're only 1/8 inch off on that side. Now I did download a spec sheet for 66 Chevelle off the internet, and it does, I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be the same chassis, but it has some more measurements, and I did check, you know, this mount and the underside of the arch there. It's close, but it's still not right. You know, it's off a little bit. And then no measurements through here, and then we get to the front here where, you know, where we're having all the problems. So if we come over here, you can see that it's supposed to measure 14 5/16. It actually measures 13 inches. On the other side, it measures 12 13/16. So there's 3/16 difference on each side. But as you guys recall, when I had the fender up there on that radiator support, I had a 1x2 block turned on its edge. So that thing's 1.5 inches, and that's only a 1/16 difference from that. So there's your problem, you know. And then there's some other measurements here. It's supposed to measure 11.5. It measures 10 3/4. You know, so we're 3/4 of an inch off there, and as we move back, you know, and that one's really hard. It's kind of vague on where to measure, so I'm just kind of ignoring that one. And I did measure on the other side, and they're all pretty close, 1/8 inch difference here. So it looks like that side is tipped a little bit down. Now the question is, how'd this happen? Where'd this come from? Is it my fault, you know, or did I contribute to it? So let me put the camera down, and we'll take a look. All right, guys, originally I thought there was a big bow in this thing forcing the front down, and when I welded the boxing plates in, it locked it into place. But I've got a straight edge on here, and it is pretty darn close. I mean, this thing doesn't have much of a bow, if anything. I've got the straight edge on here, and if I try to rock it a little bit, it just doesn't move. There's a little bit of a high spot down here, so if I come off of that, I mean, that's 3/32 maybe on the end here. So that's not it. It's not what's causing it. Now you see a number on here. So let me back the camera away a little bit, and I'll talk about if we were to try to change this to affect the front, what we would need to do. All right, so what we need ultimately is for those horns on the front to raise up over 1 inch, 1 5/16 inches. And to do that here, to make changes here to make that happen, assuming that this is the cantilevered spot right here, this is the fulcrum, we would have to go down 1 5/16 inches to get that front end to go up 1 5/16 inches, measuring equal distance. If we came halfway, we would need to go down 5/8 of an inch right here. That means I would have to put a bow in this straight piece right here, 5/8 of an inch to get this thing to rock up like that. And obviously that's not the problem. So I'm a little vindicated on that part. I didn't really cause this. I think what caused it is just right here. So let me move the camera around, and I've got some notes. I want to talk about what I think happened. All right, guys, so this piece and this piece are separate. You can see the weld right there. And what I think happened is when they welded this together, this was tipped down too much, causing all this problem. So I did drawing. Luckily, I have the donor car, so I was able to compare to that and the other spec drawing. So let's move over and we'll take a look at my drawing, and we'll kind of talk this through. Okay, you can see I've drawn the front section here and part of the C-channel center section. This represents the weld right here. They're both identical except for the degrees that are on them. Luckily, I have the donor car, and I was able to go out and do the best I could with part of the body on there and get some good measurements. So I've moved these around till this is zeroed out and zeroed out here, so there was kind of apples to apples. And you'll notice this is 0.15 degrees, and that little arrow right there pointing down, meaning that side of the level needed to go down 0.15 degrees to hit 0. And just conversely, it needs, on this side, it needs to go up. That just helped me with the mathematics of this whole thing. So on Ruby, as you can see, from right here, this 0.155 to the top, right where the radiator support goes, it's only 0.06 difference in degrees, right? And that comes out to only 0.58 of an inch difference extrapolated from the weld 50 inches out to the point here. And we go to the donor car, it is 2.05 degrees difference, which comes out to 2 inches extrapolated 50 inches, which is basically the weld to the front of the snout or the horn right here. So as you can see, 2.05 degrees. So if we look at the degrees between the bolt holes for the upper control arm, it's 5.75 degrees. And then we look at this one, it's 7.8 degrees right here. Well, that is pretty much, you take 2.05, add it to 5.75, and you've got 7.80 degrees. Look at that, 7.8, 7.8. So I'm thinking what's going on here. Like I said, when they welded this piece right here, this was too low, and that's causing all the problems. And it didn't bend there. There's no bends anywhere. This car, as far as I could tell, was never in an accident that got to the frame. Quarter panel got squished. The door got squished, but it never, I mean, it was just, you know, fender bender stuff. It wasn't major collision. So there's no fresh welds anywhere along here. On Ruby, nothing. So I think it's just manufacturer error, and that's why I fought this thing so many times when I was putting the car together. All those other times I painted the car multiple times. The fender right here would always be pushed so far towards the rocker that it would flex the fender and make it bow outwards, because basically I was cramming it down up against the seam right here, and it just made the sheet metal bow out to make it fit. So I think all those problems I had all those years ago, for all those times, it was basically because they welded this on wrong right here. So now we got to figure out what to do. So let's go back and look at the chassis. All right, guys, I think I need to cut these welds loose. So I would cut this weld loose along here, over the top there, and then down the side where I boxed it in right here, right through here. Now there was a piece, this piece went in like this and went all the way over here and welded on the back side. I did weaken it quite a bit when I put the battery cable conduit through it, the brake line, the fuel lines on the other side, so I think I could tweak it. It can't be that strong, but I would leave the bottom intact, so I wouldn't lose my dimensions, you know, front to back. You know, if I cut that completely loose, it could slide like that. But if I cut all the way around, I should be able to just simply bend this up, cut both sides, bend it up to, you know, meet spec according to the Datum line, tack it back together, weld it back together, and I think we're good. I could take it to a frame shop and, you know, just tell them, well, bend it right here and here until that nose is upright. First of all, I don't like that, because I'm pretty sure it's just welded together wrong. It didn't get in a wreck. And then what happens if they bend something else trying to make it bend right there? And I don't think I like the idea of that being bent, you know, just kind of kinked right there. It's only going to be a few degrees, but I just don't think that's a good idea. So I'm leaning towards cutting those welds loose and just trying to fix this. That's the only thing I can think of. You know, at first I thought it was me. Sure, I think when this wasn't boxed in and, you know, everything got tightened down, these were up like I showed you earlier, and it just pushed that down and kind of pulled that up, and it was enough. And then I just fought the assembly after that, and whoever built the car. So the fenders were never really, they were always under stress, always under tension, you know, because they were forced on there. So I don't know. I think cutting these welds is the smart move. I don't think trying to bend this into submission is the smart move. I just think it was put together wrong. According to all my math and checking everything else, that's what it looks like to me. Okay guys, my brain hurts. I've been thinking about this for a couple of days, calculating degrees, subtracting, adding, just going over, crawling underneath the old donor car out there, measuring stuff, remeasuring. I've been out there 4 or 5 times. So the only thing I can come up with, the only conclusion, is it was put together here wrong, and that's it. I could see if it was bent up, you know, over the years it was sagged a little bit or something. But, you know, down, you know, without major front end collision, I don't know how that could, you know, bend itself down. And there is none. This is all pristine up here. So it's never been scabbed together. Nothing's been added or subtracted. It's like it was, you know, when it was built in 66, 67. So I just think they screwed up when they put it together. And, you know, I was pretty upset with myself earlier. I thought I was the one that caused all this. And basically boxing it in, I think I took some of the flexibility out of the frame that allowed these front body bolts to pull this and just wrench it up a little bit, just enough to make it work. I've been also upset with GM for doing this, but you know, I was a pretty young guy when this car was built, so I guess I can't blame him for that. But I think the next time you see this, I'm probably going to be cutting on it and tacking it back together. So I definitely won't do it till I sleep on it a few times. Maybe have Dave over here, drink some beers, stare at this thing and see if he sees anything I missed. And then I got to make a decision and pull the trigger. So thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint and Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Mash that bell and drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you on the next one.